The corpse at my feet used to be a space marine. I know this because I can see the yellow of his armor through the blood. Imperial Fist's colors. My colors. The ceramite has been ripped apart like wet paper, the power armor systems torn out and scattered across the ash-covered ground. His helmet lies 3 meters away, crushed flat. Whatever killed him did not simply want him dead. It wanted him unmade. This is Brother Castellan Drovon. Was Drovon. I fought beside him for 47 years. We survived the cleansing of Mordax 7. We held the line at Baka Gate when the traitors tried to break through. We drank together in the Reclusium after our promotion to the Shield Company. Now he is meat. Nothing more. I am Captain Courland of the Imperial Fists, and I stand alone among the dead of my entire chapter. Every brother who marched with me to Ardamantua lies broken around me. Hundreds of them, the finest warriors humanity has ever produced, sons of Rogaldorn himself, reduced to torn flesh and shattered ceramite. The air tastes like copper and ozone. My armor's auspex has been damaged, but I do not need it to tell me that nothing lives here anymore except me. I can hear the silence. It presses against my ears like deep water. No vox chatter, no breathing, no heartbeats except my own. 6 hours ago, this was supposed to be a routine operation. The High Lords had sent us to Ardamantua to deal with a Xenos infestation. The Chromes, they were called. Insectoid things that bred fast and ate everything in their path. Intelligence reports put their numbers at 88 billion. A significant threat to the Segmentum Solar, but nothing an entire company of Imperial Fists could not handle. We arrived in system with our battle barge, the Alcazar remembered, and began standard insertion protocols. Chapter Master Issachar himself led the deployment. The entire Shield Company, our most experienced warriors, descended to the surface with full armor support and heavy weapons. We expected resistance. We expected casualties, perhaps. What Chapter Master Issachar said echoed in my mind. Cleanse them quickly, brothers. Terra expects efficiency. The Chromes were running. That should have told us something. I remember watching them through my helmet's targeting array as our Thunderhawks descended. Millions of the creatures streaming across the dead plains of Ardamantua like a living carpet. They were not attacking anything. They were not defending territory. They were fleeing. Every instinct they possessed was screaming at them to run. We should have asked ourselves what could frighten 88 billion aliens. The landing was textbook. No resistance. The Chromes barely acknowledged our presence, too focused on their exodus to care about the space marines burning them from the sky. We established a perimeter, deployed our armor, and began the systematic extermination of the Xenos swarm. Then Lord Commander Militant Heth's fleet arrived. I was coordinating with Sergeant Thrace's Devastator squad when the Vox erupted with Heth's transmission. His voice carried the flat calm of a veteran officer who has seen too much war to panic, but I heard something underneath it. Something that made my secondary heart start beating faster. All Imperial forces on Ardamantua, this is Lord Commander Heth. We are detecting massive subspace distortions in the upper atmosphere. Unknown contacts emerging. Pattern suggests -quote. The transmission cut off, not with static, not with interference. It simply stopped as if someone had reached across the void and crushed Heth's ship with their bare hands. Then the sky split open. I am a space marine. I have fought demons and traitors and Xenos horrors that would drive normal men mad. I have seen cities burn and worlds die. I thought I understood what war looked like. I was wrong. What came through that tear in reality was no mere ORK invasion. These were not the brutal, simple creatures I had fought on a dozen different worlds. The orcs that fell from the sky stood as tall as I did. Bigger. Their armor was not the crude scrap metal and salvage I had learned to expect. It was sophisticated, It had design. It worked. The first one I saw killed 3 of my brothers before any of us could react. It moved faster than any orc should, its weapon a massive cleaver that cut through ceramite like it was nothing. Brother Kellan tried to block with his power sword, and the orc sheared through both the blade and Kellan's arm with one swing. Brother Ulrich fired his bolter at point-blank range. The shots bounced off the orc's armor. Bounced off. Then the real ones arrived. I do not know what else to call them. They were orcs, yes, but they stood the height of dreadnoughts. Their armor was complex, covered in energy fields that made the air shimmer around them. They carried weapons I could not identify, technology that should not exist in greenskin hands. Chapter: Master Issachar ordered us to stand our ground. We are Imperial fists. We do not retreat. We do not break. We hold the line until the enemy is dead or we are. So we held, and we died. I watched Sergeant Thrace and his entire squad vanish in a blast of green energy that left nothing but ash and melted armor. I saw Chaplain Boreas charging one of the massive orcs, his crozius raised high, screaming his oaths of defiance. The orc caught him in midair and tore him in half. I heard Brother Captain Vainom calling for extraction over the Vox, his voice steady, even as I heard his squad being slaughtered around him. Then his signal died. The orcs did not shout. They did not roar and bellow like the beasts I had fought before. They moved with purpose. They coordinated. They flanked. They used suppressing fire and kill zones. They fought like Imperial Guard, like Space Marines even, but with the raw physical power of creatures who could punch through tanks. I was part of Chapter Master Issachar's command squad when the largest orc I have ever seen came for us. It wore armor painted in red and black, covered in glyphs I could not read. Its eyes glowed with a sickening intelligence. It looked at us and it smiled. That smile haunts me still. "Finally," it said, in Gothic. Perfect Gothic. Dorn's little boys. Chapter: Master Issachar charged. He was 230 years old, a veteran of 100 campaigns, a warrior who had never known defeat. He lasted 3 seconds. The orc caught his power sword on its forearm, let the blade bite into its flesh, then grabbed Issachar by the head and crushed his skull inside his helmet. The crack of breaking bone and ceramite echoed across the battlefield like thunder. The command squad died next. Brother Artemis, Brother Khan, Sergeant Heldon, Ancient Mordecai with our company standard. They fought and they died, and none of them made the orc even flinch. I was the last. I raised my bolter and fired every round in the magazine. The orc let me. It stood there and let me shoot it, my rounds sparking off its armor or punching through its flesh without slowing it down. When I ran dry, it stepped forward and backhanded me with casual contempt. I flew. My armor's system screamed warnings as I hit the ground 20 meters away. Broken ribs, fractured spine, internal bleeding. My helmet display flickered and died. Through the cracked visor, I saw the orc turn away from me, already bored. It had more important enemies to kill. I should have died there. I wanted to die there. But my body refused to stop fighting. My enhanced biology, the gene seed of Rogel Dorn himself, kept repairing damage as fast as it accumulated. My secondary heart took over when my primary failed. My blood clotted. My bones began to knit. I lay in the ash and blood and listened to my chapter die. The battle took 4 more hours. I heard it all. Every death cry, every call for aid, every desperate last stand. Chapter Master Issachar had deployed nearly the entire Imperial Fists chapter to Adamantua. 853 Space Marines, the defenders of Terra itself, the sons of the Praetorian. When the sounds of battle finally stopped, I was the only one left. I do not know why. Perhaps the orcs thought I was dead. Perhaps they simply did not care. Perhaps some fragment of their warrior culture respected a fallen foe enough to leave his corpse in peace. It does not matter. What matters is the message Lord Commander Heth sent before his fleet died. I found the recording in my armor's damaged systems as I dragged myself to my feet. His last transmission, recorded and encrypted for any surviving Imperial forces. This is no mere war. The orcs have returned. They remember Ulanor. They remember when the Emperor humbled them, when Horus burned their empire to ash. This is revenge. This is war on a scale we have not seen since the heresy. They have attack moons. They have technology beyond our understanding. They are led by something that calls itself the Beast. And it speaks, it thinks, it plans. The Imperium is not ready for this. Tell Terra. Make them understand. This is the end of everything if we do not. The recording ended there. I look up at the sky. The sun of Ardamantua is setting, painting the clouds in shades of red and orange. It would be beautiful if I could see anything except the blood of my brothers. My Vox is damaged, but I managed to get a distress signal out. It will take days for anyone to receive it. Maybe longer. Ardamantua is 6 solar weeks from Terra at standard warp travel. By the time reinforcements arrive, this world will be long dead. But Terra needs to know. The High Lords need to understand what is coming for them. This is not an ordinary orc warg. This is something worse. Something I do not have words for. Something that can look at space marines and see nothing worth fearing. I start walking. My armor's power cell is at 15%. My weapons are gone. My brothers are dead, but I am an Imperial Fist. I am a son of Rogel Dawn, and I will not die on this worthless rock while my duty remains unfulfilled. I will reach the evacuation point. I will steal a ship if I must. I will return to Terra and deliver Heth's warning, even if I have to crawl across broken glass, through the depths of the warp to do it. The Beast is coming, and the Imperium has no idea what that means. Behind me, the corpses of my chapter lie cooling in the twilight. Ahead of me, the long walk to the landing site stretches across kilometers of dead ground. My broken body protests every step. My armor's joints grind and spark. Blood leaks from a dozen wounds my biology cannot quite seal. I keep walking. Because that is what we do. That is what the Sons of Dawn have always done. We hold, we endure, we do not break, not even when everything around us crumbles to dust. I am Captain Courland of the Imperial Fists. I am the last survivor of Ardamantua. I am the bearer of terrible news, and I am walking toward Terra with a message that will change everything. The night falls. The darkness is complete. I walk alone through it, guided only by my armor's failing systems and my own grim determination. Somewhere above me, the stars shine cold and distant. Somewhere in that vast darkness, the Beast and its armies are moving, planning, preparing to do to the rest of the Imperium what they did here. They killed my entire chapter in 4 hours. We were the defenders of Terra, the Emperor's chosen warriors, and they swept through us like we were nothing. What happens when an orc becomes a Primarch-level threat? The galaxy bleeds, and the bleeding has only just begun. Terra smells like incense and lies. I stand in the Senatorum Imperialis, the great council chamber of the High Lords, and I smell both. The incense comes from braziers placed around the chamber, burning expensive compounds imported from a dozen different worlds. The lies come from the mouths of the men and women who rule the Imperium. They do not believe me. It has been 9 days since I dragged myself off Ardamantua. 9 days of desperate travel through the warp, pushing a damaged shuttle past all safe limits because I knew every hour mattered. 9 days of my body slowly healing while my mind kept replaying the slaughter. When I finally reached Terra, I went straight to the Imperial Fists Fortress Monastery on the Phalanx, expecting to find my chapter already mobilized. Instead, I found confusion and denial. The chapter master was dead. The command structure was in chaos. Nobody wanted to believe that the entire shield company had been annihilated. They kept asking for confirmation, for additional data, for proof beyond my word. I gave them Lord Commander Heth's final transmission. I showed them my armor, still covered in the blood of my brothers. I told them about the orc that spoke Gothic, about the technology, about the size and intelligence of the enemy. They listened. And then they argued about what it meant. While they argued, I took my case to the High Lords. I had no authority to do this. I was a captain, nothing more. But I was the only witness to Adamantua still alive, and someone needed to make these fools understand what was coming. Lord Commander Militant Udo speaks first. He is a fat man, his uniform covered in medals he never earned. He has spent the last 30 years in comfortable offices on Terra, sending other men to die in wars he orchestrates from behind a desk. "Captain Corland," he says, his voice dripping with condescension, "we appreciate your service. The loss of the Shield Company is regrettable. However, your report is concerning. You claim the orcs possess technology equal to our own. You claim they speak Gothic. You claim they killed 800 Space Marines in a matter of hours. These claims are difficult to accept." I want to grab him by his soft throat and show him exactly how I feel about his doubt. Instead, I force myself to remain calm, to present the facts. "My lord, I witnessed these events personally." Lord Commander Heth sent a transmission before his fleet was destroyed. The orcs are not. Lord Commander Heth, interrupts Lady Historian Veritas, was known for his alarmist tendencies. The man saw threats everywhere. Are we to believe that the orc menace, which we have successfully contained for 15 centuries, has suddenly become an existential danger? 800 Space Marines are dead, I say. My voice is flat, empty. The Imperial Fists sent our finest warriors to Adamantua, and I am the only one who returned. If that is not enough evidence, perhaps the Imperial Fists have grown complacent, suggests Lord Commander Udo. 15 centuries of garrison duty on Terra. One wonders if your chapter has maintained proper combat readiness. Silence falls across the chamber. Every other High Lord suddenly finds something else to look at. Lord Commander Udo realizes what he has just said, but it is too late to take it back. I do not reach for my bolter. I do not leap across the chamber and break his neck. I am an Imperial Fist. I am disciplined. But something in my expression makes Udo lean back in his throne, his face going pale. "My brothers," I say quietly, "held the line until every single one of them was dead. They fought against an enemy that should not exist. They died buying time for Lord Commander Heth to send his warning. Do not speak of their sacrifice as if it meant nothing." "Of course," Udo stammers, "I meant no disrespect. I simply suggest that perhaps the situation is not as dire as you believe. One engagement, one world, hardly evidence of an empire-threatening crisis. This is the moment I understand. These people are not stupid. They are worse than stupid. They are comfortable. They are safe. They have spent their entire lives in the golden halls of Terra, surrounded by luxury and power, while the Imperium holds together through the blood of men and women they will never meet. They cannot conceive of a threat they cannot control. They will not believe in danger until it is standing in their throne room with a knife at their throat. By then, it will be too late. "My lords," I say, "I request permission to mobilize additional Imperial Fists forces. We need to investigate what happened at Adamantua. We need to find out where these orcs came from and what their plans are." "Denied," says Lord Commander Udo immediately. "The Imperial Fists are already at reduced strength. We cannot afford to deploy more of Terra's defenders on a wild chase across the Segmentum Solar. The matter will be investigated by proper Imperial authorities. In the meantime, Captain Corland, you are ordered to return to your chapter and focus on rebuilding after your unfortunate losses." unfortunate losses. As if my entire company died in a training accident. I open my mouth to argue further, but Grand Master Drakan Van Gorich raises one hand. The Grand Master of the Officio Assassinorum is a thin man with dead eyes and a face like carved stone. He has said nothing during this entire meeting, just watched and listened. Now he speaks, and every other High Lord falls silent. Captain Courland speaks truth, Van Gorich says. I have reviewed the transmission logs from Lord Commander Heth's fleet. The patterns match nothing in our records. The technology described is beyond standard ORK capability. This warrants investigation. With respect, Grand Master, says Lord Commander Udo, the Assassinorum does not dictate military policy. No, agrees Van Gorich, but we gather intelligence, and our agents are reporting unusual ORK activity across multiple sectors. Raids that show sophisticated planning, attacks that seem designed to test our defenses rather than simply cause destruction. If Captain Courland's report is accurate, these may be connected to a larger pattern. Then send your assassins to investigate, suggests Lady Historian Veritas. That is their purpose, yes? Let the Imperial fists focus on defending Terra. My assassins are already investigating, says Van Gorich, but I agree with Captain Courland. This threat requires Space Marine attention. I recommend we authorize a reconnaissance force. An alarm sounds. Not the normal alert klaxons I've heard during drills. This is different. Deeper. The kind of sound that makes every person in the chamber freeze and look up at the ceiling as if they can see through solid adamantium to whatever is happening above. A servitor scuttles into the chamber, its mechanical legs clicking on the marble floor. It approaches Lord Commander Udo and extends a data slate with one augmetic arm. Udo reads it, his face going white. My lords, he says, his voice shaking. We are receiving distress calls from multiple worlds in the Segmentum Solar. 3 systems have gone dark in the past hour. The last transmission from each reported ORK attacks of unprecedented scale. 3 systems? Veritas stands. In 1 hour. The pattern suggests coordinated assault, says Van Gorich. His voice remains calm, but I see his fingers drumming on the arm of his throne. Captain Courland, it seems your warning has been vindicated. More servitors enter the chamber, each one carrying reports for different High Lords. I watch as the Council receives message after message, each one describing the same thing. Worlds under attack, fleets destroyed, orcs appearing in numbers that should be impossible, attacking with strategy and technology that defies everything the Imperium knows about greenskin warfare. And then the big one arrives. An astropath enters the chamber, supported by 2 attendants. The man is ancient, his eyes milky with cataracts, his body withered from decades of psychic communion with the Astronomicon. He opens his mouth and speaks in a voice that echoes with something beyond human sound. The beast speaks, the astropath says. It knows our language, it knows our worlds, it sends a message to Terra itself. What message? Demands Udo. The astropath's head tilts back. His mouth opens wider, and from his throat comes a voice that is not his own. A voice like grinding rocks and breaking bones, speaking perfect High Gothic with an accent that makes my skin crawl. We remember Ulanor. We remember your Emperor. We remember your false war master. Now we remember your extinction. The Imperium ends. The age of the beast begins. Surrender and die quickly. Resist and die slowly. There is no third option. The voice cuts off. The astropath collapses, bleeding from his eyes and nose. His attendants rush to his aid while the High Lords sit in stunned silence. I step forward. Everyone turns to look at me. I'm covered in dried blood and my armor is battle-scarred and smoking. I'm the only person in this chamber who has seen the beast's forces up close. I am the only one who truly understands what we are facing. My lords, I say, This is the threat Lord Commander Heth died warning us about. This is what killed my chapter. And it is coming for Terra. We can either prepare to fight, or we can sit here arguing while the galaxy burns around us. Lord Commander Udo looks at me. For the first time since I entered this chamber, I see fear in his eyes. Real fear. The comfortable delusion he has lived in for 3 decades has just shattered like glass. "What do you need?" he asks. "Everything," I tell him. "Every ship, every soldier, every Space Marine chapter within reach. Because if the orcs are coming for Terra, we will need more than the Imperial fists to stop them." The High Lords begin talking all at once, shouting questions and demands and fears at each other. While they argue, I walk to the edge of the chamber and look out through the crystal viewing port at the spires of Terra stretching into the sky. Somewhere beyond those spires, beyond the atmosphere, beyond the reach of human sight, the beast is moving. It destroyed my chapter in 4 hours. What can it do to an entire Imperium in 4 months? 4 years. How do you stop something that speaks like a man, thinks like a general, and kills like a Primarch? I do not have an answer, but I know someone who might. I turn back to the High Lords and interrupt their argument with a single sentence that will change everything. "We need to find a Primarch." The chamber goes silent. "That is impossible," says Lady Historian Veritas. "The Primarchs are gone. Dead or lost or transformed into something beyond our reach. They abandoned the Imperium 15 centuries ago." "Not all of them," I say. I look at Grand Master Vangorish. The Assassinorum has files on all the Primarchs, their last known locations, their possible survival. I have heard rumors, stories that the Inquisition likes to suppress, about one who never stopped fighting. Vangorish studies me for a long moment. Then, slowly, he nods. "Vulcan," he says. "The Primarch of the Salamanders. The Emperor's Smith. The perpetual warrior who cannot die. Intelligence suggests he has been seen on the world of Caldera, deep in the Segmentum Tempestus." "Caldera is under siege," interrupts Udo, checking his data slate. "According to these reports, the orcs have been attacking that world for the past 3 months. The defenders have held, but barely." "Because Vulcan is there," I say. "A Primarch, still fighting after 15 centuries. If anyone can help us defeat the beast, it is him." The High Lords look at each other. For once, they are united. Not in hope, exactly, but in desperation. They have finally realized that their comfortable little empire is about to be torn apart by an enemy that makes their worst nightmares look like pleasant dreams. "Captain Courland," says Lord Commander Udo, "I am hereby promoting you to Chapter Master of the Imperial Fists. You will mobilize what remains of your chapter and prepare for full-scale war. Grand Master Vangorish will provide intelligence and Assassinorum support. The rest of us will coordinate the Imperial response, and you will lead a strike force to Caldera. Find Vulcan, bring him back to Terra, because if what you say is true, we will need the Emperor's son to save us all." I salute. Not because I want this responsibility, not because I feel worthy of leading the chapter, but because someone has to, and I am the last one standing. As I leave the chamber, I hear the alarms getting louder. More worlds are dying. The beast is moving faster than anyone expected. By the time I reach the phalanx and begin mobilizing my brothers, the reports are coming in by the hundreds. Entire sectors going dark. Attack moons appearing in the sky like a plague from the stars. Orcs spilling across Imperial space with a coordination and purpose that should be impossible. This is not a WAG. This is an invasion. Calculated, planned, executed with the skill of the greatest generals humanity has ever produced. And somewhere in the darkness, the beast watches and waits and prepares to finish what it started. I look at the statue of Rogel Dorn that stands in the Phalanx's main chapel. My Primarch, lost to the Imperium centuries ago, his final fate unknown. I wonder what he would do in my place, how he would respond to this threat. Then I remember. The Imperial Fists do not ask what to do. We know, we hold the line, we endure, we fight until the enemy is dead or we are. That is our way. That has always been our way. The beast is coming for terror. Let it come. We will be waiting, and this time, I will not be alone. The ships die around us like candles in a storm. I watch from the viewing port of the battle barge, Raptor's Fury, as 3 Imperial Navy cruisers engage the attack moon that hangs above Caldera like a green metal sun. Their weapons fire tears across the void, lances of energy and streams of macro cannon shells. They hit the attack moon's shields and do nothing. Nothing at all. The energy fields around the ORK construct simply absorb the assault, as if the Imperial Navy is throwing pebbles at a fortress wall. Then the attack moon fires back. I've never seen a weapon like this. Green energy, but not plasma and not last fire. Something else. Something that makes space itself twist and bend. The beam touches the first cruiser, and the ship folds in on itself like paper, its hull collapsing under impossible gravitational pressure. It tears apart in seconds, its crew dying without ever having a chance to scream. The other 2 cruisers try to retreat. The attack moon teleports. One moment it is 1,000,000 kilometers away. The next, it is directly beside them, its massive bulk appearing out of nowhere with a sound like reality tearing. Both cruisers fire at point-blank range. The attack moon ignores the damage and extends enormous mechanical claws from its surface. It grabs both ships and crushes them like a child crushing ants. "Emperor's mercy," whispers Brother Sergeant Talith beside me. He is one of the 3 Imperial Fists who survived Adamantua with me. The other is Apothecary Zenor, who stands at the rear of the command deck, his armor still scarred from the battle that killed our chapter. "There is no mercy here," I tell him. "Not from the Emperor. Not from us. Not from the Orks. This is survival. Either we destroy them or they destroy us. There is nothing else." Captain Casimir of the Raptor's Fury turns from his command throne. He is Crimson Fists, one of our brother chapters, sons of the Imperial Fists Legion like we are. His armor is red where ours is yellow, but we bleed the same blood and carry the same gene seed. When I activated the Last Wall Protocol, the ancient contingency created by Rogel Dorn himself, the Crimson Fists were the first to answer. "Chapter Master Courland," says Casimir. "The attack moon is moving to intercept us. We have perhaps 10 minutes before it enters weapons range. Do we engage or do we run?" "We land," I say. "We did not come here to fight the attack moon. We came for the Primarch. Everything else is secondary." "If we land, we will be trapped," argues Casimir. "That attack moon will destroy every ship in orbit. We will have no extraction." "Then we had better not need extraction," I tell him. "Take us down. Now." Casimir hesitates. Then he nods and gives the orders. The Raptor's Fury begins its descent toward Caldera, along with 4 other ships carrying the strike force I've assembled. 100 Space Marines from 4 different chapters. Black Templars led by High Marshal Bohemond. Fists Exemplar under Chapter Master Thane. Excoriators commanded by Captain Zerberin. And my own Imperial Fists, what few remain. It is not enough. I know this. 100 Space Marines, even with the best warriors in the Imperium, cannot defeat an attack moon. Cannot hold an entire planet against the Ork armies that must be down there. But we do not need to defeat anyone. We just need to find Vulcan and get him off this world before it falls, if he is still alive. If the legends are true, if the Assassinorum intelligence is correct, if. The descent through Caldera's atmosphere is violent. The planet is burning. I can see the fires from orbit, vast swathes of destruction covering continents. The orcs have been here for months, grinding down the defenders one city at a time. But the planet still fights. That alone tells me something extraordinary is happening here. No normal world could hold against the orcs I saw on Adamantua. Not for months, not without help. We hit the landing zone with our retros firing at maximum burn. The site is a clearing in what used to be a forest, now reduced to ash and broken trees. The moment our ramps drop, we deploy in combat formation, weapons ready. The orcs are waiting for us. They surge from the tree line like a green tide, bellowing their war cries. But these are not the massive warriors I saw on Adamantua. These are normal orcs. Big, yes, and dangerous, but normal. The size of large humans rather than space marines. I kill 3 before my boots even touch the ground, my bolter barking its familiar song of death. "For dawn!" shouts Brother Talith beside me, his chainsword screaming as it bites into orc flesh. "For the Emperor!" roars High Marshal Bohemond, his black armor already covered in blood as his Black Templars charge into the enemy with the fury of fanatics. The battle is brief and brutal. 100 Space Marines against perhaps 500 orcs. We cut through them like they are nothing. These are not the elite forces that killed my chapter. These are raiders, scouts, nothing more. When the last orc falls, I look around at the devastation and feel something cold settle in my gut. This was too easy. The orcs on Adamantua would have killed half of us before we even landed. These barely slowed us down. "Something is wrong," says Chapter Master Thane of the Fists Exemplar. He is a huge man, even for a space marine, his armor covered in campaign badges from 2 centuries of warfare. The orcs should be more organized, more dangerous. They are being drawn away, I realize. Something on this planet is keeping the best orc forces busy. Something that has been fighting them for months without breaking. "The Primarch," whispers Apothecary Zena. We start marching toward the coordinates the Assassinorum provided. The landscape is a nightmare. Everywhere I look, I see the scars of war. Craters from orbital bombardment. The burned-out husks of Imperial vehicles. Bodies, human and orc both, left to rot in the sun. This world is dying, but it is dying slowly, fighting for every meter of ground. We find the first evidence of Vulcan 3 kilometers from our landing zone. It is a pile of dead orcs, stacked 30 meters high. Hundreds of them, maybe thousands, and they are not just dead. They are destroyed, crushed, burned, torn apart with such violence that pieces are scattered across a kilometer in every direction. "What did this?" asks Bohemond. I kneel beside one of the bodies. The orc's skull has been caved in by something huge and heavy. The armor has been punched through by a fist the size of my head. I look at the pattern of the damage and I understand. A Primarch did this, I say. Vulcan. He is here. He has been fighting them alone. We follow the trail of destruction. More bodies, more evidence of impossible violence. Everywhere we go, the orcs lie broken and burned. Not killed with weapons, killed with hands, with fury, with the power of something beyond human. Then we hear the roar. It echoes across the dead landscape like thunder, not a sound of pain or fear, a sound of pure, infinite rage. The kind of sound that makes you understand, on a level deeper than thought, that you are in the presence of something that can tear the world apart with its bare hands. We crest a hill and we see him. Vulcan is fighting in the valley below. He stands 4 meters tall, his armor black and green and gold, covered in the symbols of the Salamander's Legion. In his hands is a warhammer the size of a tank, glowing with energy that makes the air shimmer. Around him are orcs, not hundreds, thousands. They surge forward like an ocean, and he meets them like a wave breaking on rocks. I watch a Primarch at war, and I understand that I have never truly known what war looked like. Vulcan swings his hammer and 10 orcs die, their bodies pulped to meat. He does not block. He does not dodge. The orcs shoot him and stab him and try to drag him down through sheer weight of numbers, and he simply does not care. He is injured. I can see the wounds, the damage to his armor, the blood running down his face. But he does not stop. He cannot stop. He is a force of nature made flesh, the Emperor's son, fighting as he has fought for 15 centuries without rest or relief. "By the throne," whispers High Marshal Bohemond, "the legends are true." "We need to help him," I say, and I lead the charge down the hill. 100 Space Marines join the battle. We hit the orcs from behind, and we kill with the efficiency of centuries of training. My bolter never stops firing. My blade never stops cutting. Around me, my brothers fight with the fury of sons who have finally found their father's brother. But we are nothing compared to him. Vulcan sees us. His eyes, burning like coals in his face, lock onto my armor's imperial fists' collars. For a moment, time seems to stop. A Primarch looks at me, and I feel the weight of his attention like a physical force. Then he smiles, and it is a smile of such sad pride that it breaks my heart. "Little brothers," he says, his voice carrying across the battlefield even through the sounds of war. "You should not be here." "We came for you, Lord Primarch," I shout back. "Terra needs you. The Imperium needs you. The beast—" "I know of the beast," says Vulcan. He crushes an orc's skull with his fist, then throws the body into 3 more, bowling them over like toys. "I have been hunting it since it first appeared. This world was its target. These people needed a defender. So I stayed." "You have been fighting alone for months?" I ask. "I am used to fighting alone, Captain." He knows my rank without being told. Primarchs see everything. I have been fighting alone for 15 centuries while my brothers fell to madness or death or despair. What are a few months more? The orcs break. Not from us. From him. They flee into the wastes, their courage finally failing in the face of something they cannot kill. We let them go. There will be time for hunting survivors later. Right now, we need to leave this world before the attack moon in orbit decides to end us all. Vulcan walks to me. Up close, he is even more massive than I imagined, a giant among giants. His armor is scarred and broken in 1,000 places, held together by will and sacred oils. His face is kind, despite the violence that covers it. The face of someone who has seen too much death, but refuses to let it turn him cruel. "You are Courland," he says, "the sole survivor of Adamantua, the last son of Dawn." "I am, my lord." "You activated the Last Wall Protocol. You united my brother's successors. You have done what no one has done in 15 centuries. You have brought the Sons of Dawn together again." He places one massive hand on my shoulder. The weight of it nearly drives me to my knees. Rogel would be proud. I do not know what to say. I'm a warrior, not a diplomat. I came here to find a Primarch and convince him to return to Terra. I did not expect him to already know everything. "The beast is coming for Terra," I say. "It has attacked moons, armies beyond counting, technology that matches our own, intelligence that rivals any commander in the Imperium. It speaks Gothic. It remembers the Great Crusade. It wants revenge for Ulanor." "I know," says Vulcan. "I have fought its forces. I have seen what it is building. This is not a simple Waj Courland. This is something worse. The orcs are evolving, returning to what they once were. If the beast is given time, it will become something the Imperium cannot defeat." "Then come with us," I say. "Help us kill it before that happens." Vulcan looks back at the valley where we fought, at the dead orcs and the broken land and the sky that burns with orbital fire. Then he looks at me and nods. "I will come," he says. "But understand this, little brother. The beast is not just an orc. It is a threat on the level of a Primarch. Perhaps greater. It has taken the savage nature of its species and given it focus, purpose, intelligence. Fighting it will be like fighting Horus himself. Many will die. Maybe all of us. Are you prepared for that?" "My chapter is already dead," I tell him. "Everyone I knew on Adamantua is gone. I'm only alive because of luck and the Emperor's grace. If fighting the beast is what kills me, then at least I will die doing something that matters." Vulcan studies me for a long moment. Then he smiles again, sad and proud. "You truly are my brother's son," he says. "Very well, let us return to Terra. Let us show this beast what happens when it threatens the Emperor's domain." The extraction is a nightmare. The attack moon is hunting us through orbit, teleporting from one position to another, trying to cut off our escape. We lose 2 ships before we reach the warp jump point. 600 crew and 10 space marines dead in seconds as orc weapons tear their vessels apart. But we escape, barely. And we carry with us something the Imperium has not had in 15 centuries. A Primarch, one of the Emperor's own sons, returned to lead humanity against its enemies. On the way back to Terra, Vulcan tells me what he knows about the beast, how it organized the orcs, how it built the attack moons using technology that should not exist, how it learned Gothic by studying captured humans before killing them, how it plans to do to the Imperium what the Imperium did to the orcs at Ulanor during the Great Crusade. Complete annihilation. Total extinction. "The orcs have long memories," says Vulcan. "Longer than humans realize. They remember every defeat, every humiliation. Ulanor was the worst defeat their kind ever suffered. The Emperor himself led the assault. Horus burned their empire. The orcs were scattered and broken, but they remembered. And now one of them has grown strong enough to seek revenge." "Can we beat it?" I ask. Vulcan is quiet for a long time. Then he says, "Perhaps. If we are lucky. If we are strong. If we are willing to pay any price." That is not the answer I wanted. But it is the truth, and in the grim darkness of the 41st millennium, truth is all we have. We arrive at Terra to find the throne world under siege. The attack moon hangs in orbit like a sword over humanity's heart. Millions of orcs have landed in the outer districts, fighting their way through the Imperial defenses with a coordination I have never seen. The High Lords are paralyzed, the Imperial Guard is scattered. Only the Space Marines are holding the line, and barely. Vulcan sees this and his face goes hard. He walks into the Senatorum Imperialis like a king returning to his castle. The High Lords see him, and they fall to their knees. Even Lord Commander Udo, arrogant and stupid as he is, understands what stands before them. One of the Emperor's sons, a demigod made flesh, the smith who crafted weapons that could kill gods. "You have failed," says Vulcan. His voice is not loud. It does not need to be. Every word carries the weight of absolute authority. You have let the Imperium grow soft. You have ignored the warnings. You have allowed complacency to replace vigilance. And now Terra itself burns because of your failures. "Lord Primarch," begins Udo, "we did not know." "You did know," says Vulcan. "Captain Corlan told you. Lord Commander Heth told you. The Assassinorum told you. You chose not to listen because listening would require you to act, and action would require you to risk your comfortable life. That ends now." He looks at me. "Chapter Master Corland, you are hereby appointed Lord Commander of the Imperium. You will coordinate our military response. The High Lords will provide resources and support. Any who refuse will be removed from office." The chamber erupts in shocked protest. Vulcan silences them with a look. "The beast is coming," he says. "We will go to Ulanor and we will kill it. All of it. Every beast, every attack moon, every orc that serves it. We will show them why humanity rules this galaxy and they do not. We will show them what happens when they threaten the Emperor's children. He turns to leave, then stops and looks back at the High Lords. And when this is over, he says quietly, we will have a discussion about how the Imperium is governed, because this crisis has shown me that the current system is broken. My father built an empire that was meant to last forever. You have let it rot from within. That will change. Then he walks out, and I follow, and behind us, the High Lords sit in stunned silence, finally understanding that their age of comfortable corruption is over. The war has truly begun. The thing on the throne is not an orc. It is something worse. I stand in the war room of the Phalanx, looking at the picked captures our scouts brought back from Ullanor, and I feel ice spreading through my chest. The orc sitting on that throne is the size of a Primarch. Its armor is as sophisticated as anything the Adeptus Mechanicus produces. Its weapons glow with power fields, and its eyes are intelligent. Not cunning like a predator, intelligent like a general who has spent centuries studying warfare. This is the beast. Or rather, this is one of the beasts. The Mechanicus has analyzed the transmissions and the attack patterns, and they have made a horrifying discovery. There are 6 of them. 6 prime orcs, each the size and power of a Primarch, each commanding its own legion of warriors. They work together with perfect coordination, dividing the Imperium between them like generals planning a campaign. We killed orcs at Adamantua. We killed orcs at Caldera. But we have not even touched the real enemy yet. Vulcan stands beside me, studying the picked captures with the focus of someone who has spent millennia learning to fight. He does not speak. He just looks. And the longer he looks, the harder his expression becomes. "This is Ullanor?" he asks finally. "Yes, my lord. The world where the Emperor defeated the orcs during the Great Crusade, where Horus was named War Master." "I was there," says Vulcan softly. "I stood beside my father when he struck down the orc warlord. I watched Horus accept his new role. It was a day of triumph, a day when we thought we had finally broken the greenskin threat forever." He taps the picked capture. The orcs remember that day too. They remember their humiliation. And now they have returned to the site of their greatest defeat, stronger than ever. This is not just revenge. This is a statement. They are telling us that everything we achieved means nothing, that they will always return, that they are inevitable. "Can we beat them?" I ask. The same question I have been asking everyone, hoping for a different answer. "Yes," says Vulcan, "but the cost will be high. Higher than you can imagine. These beasts are not simple warlords. They are the result of the orc species evolving toward its original purpose. The old ones created the orcs to fight in the war in heaven. They were meant to be the perfect warriors. Over time, they degraded, became simpler, more brutal. But given the right conditions, they can remember what they once were. They can become Krork again. Krork? The original war species. Bigger than orcs. Smarter. More dangerous. The Mechanicus has theories. The Eldar have legends. All agree that Krork were nearly unstoppable. If the beasts continue to grow, if they are given time to truly remember what they are, they will become something even I cannot defeat alone. He looks at me. That is why we must strike now. Before they complete their transformation. Before they become gods of war. The fleet is the largest assembled since the Great Crusade. Thousands of ships from every corner of the Imperium. Space Marine chapters that have not fought together in centuries, standing side by side because they know this is the end if they do not. Black Templars and Crimson Fists. Fists, Exemplar and Excoriators. Even a contingent of Ultramarines led by a captain who claims he serves the Primarch's legacy. The Imperial Guard sends entire armies. The Adeptus Mechanicus provides titans and knights. The Sisters of Silence, the Emperor's own witch hunters, board our ships with their terrible silence. Everyone knows this is our last chance. If we fail at Ulanor, the beast will have won. Terra will fall, the Imperium will crumble, humanity will die, not over centuries but over years, maybe months. Vulcan leads from the front. He does not give speeches, he does not need to. Just seeing him, a Primarch walking among mortals again, is enough to inspire men and women who have never known anything but darkness and war. They see him and they believe, perhaps for the first time in their lives, that victory is possible. The journey to Ulanor takes weeks. We travel through the warp, that awful sea of chaos that lies beneath reality, and I feel the weight of it pressing against the ship's Geller fields. Something out there is watching us. Something that knows what we plan to do and is waiting to see if we succeed. When we finally arrive at Ulanor, the planet has changed. The world I studied in historical records was covered in ash and ruins. The remains of the Orc Empire the Emperor destroyed. Now it is alive again, green, growing, covered in massive structures that rise kilometers into the sky. The Orcs have rebuilt their empire. They have made Ulanor the capital of a new domain that spans half the segmentum solar. And in orbit, 6 attack moons wait for us. The battle begins immediately. The Imperial Navy engages the attack moons while the Space Marines prepare for planetary assault. Ships die by the hundreds. For every attack moon we damage, 3 Imperial vessels are destroyed. The Orcs have had months to prepare. They know we are coming. They are ready. But so are we. Vulcan leads the first wave himself. He stands at the front of a boarding torpedo, his warhammer in his hands, and when we punch through the hull of the nearest attack moon, he is the first one out. What follows is not a battle. It is a slaughter. Vulcan tears through Orcs like they are made of paper. His hammer crushes skulls and shatters armor and breaks bones. Behind him, 200 Space Marines follow, and together we carve a path through the attack moon's interior. But the Orcs do not break. These are not the raiders and scouts we fought on Caldera. These are the elite, the biggest, strongest, smartest of their kind. They fight us in the corridors with tactics and discipline. They use kill zones and choke points. They make us pay in blood for every meter of ground. I watch Brother Talith die when an Orc knob hits him with a power claw that tears through his armor like it is nothing. I see Chapter Master Thane take a wound that would kill a normal man and keep fighting, his rage keeping him on his feet. I kill Orcs until my bolter runs dry and my chainsword's teeth are clogged with flesh, and still they keep coming. We reach the attack moon's power core after 4 hours of continuous fighting. Vulcan plants charges that will tear the structure apart from the inside, and then we run. We barely make it back to the boarding torpedo before the attack moon explodes, taking 10,000 Orcs with it. 5 attack moons remain. The assault on Ulanor's surface is worse. We land in what the Orcs call Gorgogrod, their capital city. It is a nightmare of metal and stone, buildings the size of hive spires, streets wide enough to march armies through. And everywhere, Orcs. Millions of them. More Orcs than I have ever seen in one place, all of them armed, all of them ready to fight. Vulcan does not slow down. He charges into the heart of Gorgogrod with 10,000 Space Marines at his back, and we fight our way through the city 1 block at a time. The Orcs attack us from every direction. They drop buildings on us. They use artillery. They coordinate their assaults with such precision that I forget I am fighting Xenos and start to think I'm fighting Imperial Guard. This is what happens when Orcs evolve. This is what the beasts have created. An army that thinks, that plans, that learns from its mistakes and adjusts its tactics. We lose brothers by the hundreds. For every Orc we kill, 5 more take its place. The city is their fortress. and they defend it with the same stubbornness that Imperial fists show when defending Terra. But we push forward, because we have to, because there is no choice, because the alternative is extinction. After 3 days of fighting, we reach the center of Gorgogrod. A massive structure, part temple and part war machine, rises above the city like a mountain. This is where the beasts command their armies. This is where we will find them. Vulcan and I lead a strike force of 50 space marines into the structure, the best of the best, veterans who have survived battles that would break normal men. We fight through corridors lined with orc defenders, each one the size of a space marine, each one equipped with weapons that can kill us. Then we reach the throne room. It is huge, big enough to hold a company of titans. The walls are covered in glyphs that I cannot read, symbols that seem to writhe in the dim light. And at the far end, sitting on thrones of black stone, are 6 orcs. Each one is as big as Vulcan. Each one wears armor that glows with power fields. Each one carries weapons that make the air shimmer with barely contained energy. They are the beasts, the Primarch-level threats that have brought the Imperium to its knees. They look at us and they smile. One of them stands. It is larger than the others, its armor covered in the bones of enemies. It speaks in perfect Gothic, its voice deep and mocking. "So," it says, "one of the false emperor's sons comes to die. Which one are you? The smith? Yes, I can smell the fire on you. Vulcan, the one who cannot die. We shall see about that." Vulcan does not answer with words. He answers with his hammer. The duel that follows is something out of legend. Primarch against Prime Orc, 2 beings of impossible power meeting in single combat. They hit each other with blows that would shatter mountains. The beast is fast, faster than something that size should be. It matches Vulcan strike for strike, its power claw blocking his hammer, its sheer strength equal to a Primarch's. The other 5 beasts move to join the fight. They will not let this be a fair duel. They intend to overwhelm Vulcan through numbers, to bring him down the way they brought down my chapter. But they have forgotten about us. The 50 space marines charge. We hit the other beasts from all sides, throwing everything we have at them. Bolter fire, chainswords, melter bombs. We fight with the desperation of men who know they are about to die but refuse to go quietly. I empty my bolt pistol into one beast's face. The shots bounce off its armor. It backhands me and I fly across the throne room, my ribs breaking, my vision going white with pain. I hit the wall and I fall and I lie there gasping while my body tries to repair the damage. Through blurred vision, I watch the duel. Vulcan is wounded. His armor is cracked. Blood runs down his face, but he does not stop. He cannot stop. He is a Primarch, a son of the Emperor. Defeat is not an option. The beast is wounded too. Vulcan's hammer has broken its armor, crushed its bones. But it is healing. The orc physiology, already robust, is accelerated by something else. Wag energy. The psychic power of millions of orcs believing that their leader is invincible. As long as the other beasts live, as long as the orc armies on Ulanor continue to fight, this beast cannot be killed. Vulcan realizes this at the same moment I do. I see it in his eyes. The understanding that he cannot win this fight with strength alone, that he needs to do something desperate. "Kurland," he shouts, "get out! Now." "My lord, I will not leave you. That is an order." His voice carries the weight of absolute command. "Take your brothers and evacuate this structure. I will finish this." I understand what he is about to do. I want to argue. I want to stay and fight beside him, but I am a space marine. I follow orders, even when those orders mean watching a Primarch sacrifice himself. I drag myself to my feet. Around me, the other space marines are falling. The 5 beasts are killing them one by one, their power overwhelming our numbers. I grab the nearest brother and I start pulling him toward the exit. Others see what I am doing and follow. We retreat. It is the hardest thing I've ever done, leaving Vulcan alone in that throne room while he fights something that should not exist. But I do it, because he commanded me to. Because someone needs to survive this and tell the Imperium what happened here. Behind us, Vulcan roars. It is a sound that shakes the building, a sound of fury and determination and acceptance. He knows he is about to die. He has known for 15 centuries that one day he would meet an enemy he could not defeat. Today is that day. We are 50 meters from the throne room when the explosion hits. It is not a normal explosion. It is something worse. A detonation of pure Waj energy mixed with Primarch power, a fusion of two forces that should never touch. The throne room disappears in a flash of green and gold light. The structure shakes. Cracks spread through the walls. The ceiling begins to collapse. We run. We run as fast as our augmented legs can carry us, through corridors that are falling apart around us, past orcs who are too shocked to fight back. We reach the outside just as the entire structure collapses in on itself, taking everything inside with it. The beast is dead. Vulcan is dead, and I'm alive to witness both. Around us, the orcs are starting to falter. The death of their leader is spreading through the Wag energy like poison. They are losing coordination, losing direction. The perfect army that nearly destroyed the Imperium is turning back into a simple horde, confused and leaderless. But there are still 5 beasts and 5 attack moons in orbit. The war is not over. It takes another month of fighting to finish it. We hunt down the other beasts one by one, using the same tactic Vulcan showed us. Psychic attack. The Sisters of Silence, combined with captured orc psychers, create a resonance that turns the Wei energy against itself. The beasts die, their own power consuming them from the inside. The attack moons fall. The orc armies scatter. Ulanor burns for the second time in Imperial history. When it is finally over, I stand in the ruins of Gorgogrod and I count the cost. 8 of my original 50 Space Marines survived. The Imperial Guard lost 2 million soldiers. The Space Marine chapters are devastated, with only a fraction of their strength remaining. The Imperial Navy lost 3/4 of its ships, and Vulcan is gone. Another Primarch lost to the Imperium's endless wars. I find a piece of his Warhammer in the rubble. Doomtremor, the weapon he carried for 15 centuries, broken and burned. I pick it up and I hold it, and I feel the weight of history in my hands. We won. We survived, but at such a cost that it feels like defeat. Terror does not celebrate our return. It mourns. The High Lords gather to hear my report, and they sit in silence as I tell them what happened, how we killed the beast, how Vulcan died, how close we came to total extinction. When I finish, they ask no questions. They just sit and stare at the empty throne where a Primarch once stood. Lord Commander Udo is gone. He resigned in disgrace when it became clear his incompetence nearly doomed the Imperium. The other High Lords have been replaced with people who actually understand that the galaxy is a dangerous place. Grand Master Van Gorich has taken a more active role in coordinating Imperial defenses. The Assassinorum now has the authority to act without High Lord approval when threats emerge. The Imperial Fists are being rebuilt. Chapter Master Thane of the Fists Exemplar has volunteered his entire chapter to reform the 7th Legion's parent chapter. Other successor chapters have contributed warriors. The Last Wall Protocol will remain active until the rebuilding is complete. We are no longer one chapter. We are all chapters. United, as Rogaldorn intended. I'm no longer Chapter Master. I gave that title to Thane. He has earned it. Instead, I remain Lord Commander of the Imperium, the first Space Marine to hold this position since the Heresy. It is a role I never wanted, But it is a role the Imperium needs. Someone who understands war. Someone who will not make the mistakes the old High Lords made. The War of the Beast is over, but its lessons remain. I requested that the Mechanicus teleport Ulanor out of its current location and move it somewhere secret. They agreed. The planet will be studied. The ORK technology will be analyzed. Perhaps we can learn something that will help us the next time this happens. Because it will happen again. I am certain of that. The Mechanicus has shown me their theories about ORK evolution. About how, given the right conditions, orcs can remember what they once were, how they can become Krork, the species the old ones created to fight in the war in heaven. The beasts were not fully evolved. They were transitioning. If they had been given more time, if they had been allowed to complete their transformation, they would have become something even worse. Somewhere in the galaxy, right now, orcs are fighting, growing, learning. One day, another beast will rise. Maybe not in my lifetime, maybe not for 10,000 years, but it will happen. What happens when an orc becomes a Primarch-level threat? The galaxy bleeds. Legends fall, millions die, and the Imperium learns, briefly, the meaning of humility. But the lesson never lasts. Already I can see complacency returning. The High Lords talking about rebuilding what was lost, about returning to the way things were. They do not understand that the way things were is what caused this crisis. The Imperium has grown soft, bureaucratic, slow to act and quick to ignore threats until they become existential. Rogel Dawn saw this coming. That is why he created the Last Wall Protocol. That is why he made provisions for his sons to reunite if Terra ever faced a dire threat. He knew that the Imperium would forget the lessons of the heresy, that arrogance and complacency would return. I place Vulcan's broken hammer in the memorial chapel aboard the Phalanx. Beside it, I place a piece of armor from one of the beasts. Both are reminders. The hammer shows what we lost. The armor shows what we faced. Together, they tell the story of the War of the Beast better than any words could. The Imperium survived. Barely. The orcs were defeated. For now, but the threat never truly ends. It just waits, growing, learning, preparing. I'm Maximus Thane, chapter master of the reformed Imperial Fists. I took this name when I accepted the responsibility of rebuilding Rogel Dawn's legacy. The man who used to bear my old name died on Ulanor. What remains is someone who understands the cost of survival. I look at the memorial, and I remember Captain Corland, the last son of Dawn, who gave everything to save the Imperium. He died on Ulanor too, during the second invasion, killed by the beast in single combat. His sacrifice bought time for the rest of us to complete our mission. His name is now part of the chapter's honored dead, spoken in the same breath as Rogel Dawn himself. We will not forget what we learned during the War of the Beast. We will not let the Imperium grow complacent again. We will stand vigil. We will prepare. And when the next beast rises, as it inevitably will, we will be ready to face it. The Emperor protects, but the Emperor also expects us to protect ourselves, to stand firm against the darkness, to never surrender, never retreat, never accept defeat as long as we still draw breath. That is the lesson of the War of the Beast. That is the legacy we carry forward. And that is why, even in the grim darkness of the far future, humanity endures, because we remember what it cost to survive, and we refuse to let that sacrifice be in vain.